For most of my 110-pound weight loss, I followed one rule that pretty much everybody tells you you have to follow. You have to be in a calorie deficit. Don't stop, don't cheat, just keep eating less than you burn and you're done. And for years, that rule was wrecking my workouts and slowing my progress to a healthier life. Now here's the part that doesn't make a whole lot of sense until I explain it. And I know a lot of people might have seen this, but it does help to see. The very first weight loss video I released, when I talked about my 110-pound weight loss, how I actually got there, it's my full story. In that video, I was 165 pounds, and today I'm around 171 pounds. I am 5 pounds lighter right here. But currently I am thinner, fitter, and in the absolute best shape that I've ever been in my entire life. So either the math stopped working or that deficit rule has some nuance. And I want to talk about that. So you've heard some version of this 1,000 times, I know. Calculators, coaches, every app on your phone spits out the same answers. Eat less than you burn, constantly, the weight comes off. Simple. It's linear. You just have to be disciplined. Just keep telling yourself that. And honestly, it's not wrong. That's true. That will happen. But it's just incomplete because it's not going to tell you how you're going to be feeling while that's happening. Nobody tells you what happens when you treat the math as a permanent state versus just a phase, or treating it to be fluid, eating based on how you feel. It's kind of where I'm at now, and I found that out over years of doing this. It's not something to do right away. So here's the real timeline. I've never actually laid this out from start to finish. I have an earlier version of this video that I just talked about, which is from a couple years ago, but a lot of things have changed since then. The first 40 pounds came off almost entirely from diet. No training plan, nothing structured. I had some apps that was teaching me, basic nutrition, and all of that helped incredibly. And that all worked. 40 pounds down, I was doing everything right, and then it just kind of stopped. Everything slowed way down. Same deficit, same discipline. I was really getting back into tracking again, figuring out exactly what was going on. And when you're doing that and you're doing the math right and you feel like you should be in a deficit, but the scale isn't moving, something else might be happening. You could be gaining muscle and burning fat, but you do start to get frustrated. And that's where I was at. That's actually when I started running, not because I had any love for running. At the time, I thought it was crazy, but I wanted to do something to start getting healthier. I've talked about this a lot, but running kind of came from the fact that I see a lot of very successful people are runners, and I thought there must be a reason. And I was right. It's very mind clearing. It put me in a completely different state of being a person. I'm a much calmer, more easygoing person now. But I also felt that running would help me, increase my expenditure and put me into maybe more of a deficit and kind of help start to move the needle a little bit. And that's honestly when the weight kind of started coming off, right? That was the rest of the 70 pounds was when I started doing yoga and running and really kind of just diving into being healthier all around. By the time I filmed that first video, I was down 110 pounds. I was down to 165. It was the lowest I've ever been in my entire life. I had technically done it. I lost all the weight. But the thing that I didn't talk about in that video was the way that I still felt about myself. And I know that's a hard thing for a lot of people, but I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be. Monica and I dressed up as the Guardians of the Galaxy for one Halloween, and I just wanted to be fitter. I wanted that look. And I know there is that can go so far because that's almost an impossible standard to meet. I know that, but I wanted to be 10% there. And I didn't feel like I was there at all. So that's what triggered the becoming athletic. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. I mean, I hope it's been interesting this whole time, but that plateau after the first 40 pounds, that's your body actively adapting to a deficit. We've talked about it before. There's a thing called NEAT, that's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's your body slowing down a lot of the movements that you do throughout the day. There's also the fact that you weigh less. So it takes less energy for your body to move as far. Think about it like a large truck pulling a large trailer. Well, if you remove the trailer, the truck doesn't need as much gas. Your body is not going to need as much fuel. So if you're eating a certain amount of calories and the deficit goes down and your NEAT goes down, but then you're also getting smaller, well, things are going to kind of start to level off. Now, there's also some other research on this, which is kind of wild. I really enjoy diving into this stuff. On the show, The Biggest Loser, researchers followed those contestants for years afterwards. Their metabolisms didn't just drop during the show, they actually stayed suppressed for years after, even after a lot of their weight came back on, which happened to many of the contestants. Any of the research that I talk about in this video, I'm going to link below in the description so you can take a look at it for yourself. But here's the twist that actually matters for this video. A more recent review of that data suggested that it probably wasn't the calorie deficit alone doing all of the damage. It was actually how hard they were training those contestants while barely eating. They were underfueling relative to how much they were asking their bodies to do. There is also loads of research, not on weight loss, but on training performance while in a calorie deficit. It always shows that staying in a deficit, staying in a calorie restriction for far too long will slow your muscle mass gain, flatten your strength, flatten your endurance, and slow how well you recover between workout sessions. It's not universal. It doesn't happen to everyone the same way. It doesn't work the same way for everyone. But it is a real documented thing. That was me for a long time, and I just didn't have a name for it. I was going through fatigue. My training was slowing down. I was working on running these marathons. I felt like I could do it, but I was suffering through it. I was having a very hard time. I honestly just thought I was tired, which for running as much as I was or working out as much as I was, I probably was just tired, but the fueling made a dramatic difference. There's actually a study I think about a lot. I read this one a while ago. This was kind of a spark for me. They took men in a long-term deficit, but instead of grinding straight through the deficit, having an equal deficit all the way through, they cycled it for 2-week periods. 2 weeks of very strong, wide deficit and 2 weeks of heavy fueling. It was the same total amount of caloric restriction across the whole thing, across the whole study. The group that cycled their deficit lost more fat than the group that stayed the same. I'll link to that one too. And there's a smaller study I like even more because it links specifically to training. Athletes doing an intermittent diet took a single 1-week break back to maintenance in the middle of their training cycle. And that 1 week alone improved their muscle endurance, plus a small bump in resting metabolism, which any bump at all in resting metabolism will make a difference over time. Now, completely honest, as I always try to be, not every study that has tried to replicate this comes up with the same size of the effect, but a larger body of evidence shows that people who take breaks from restriction perform better than people who don't. You know that moment late at night when you feel something off, and then suddenly you're on your phone at 11:30 p.m. Googling symptoms, convincing yourself that it's way worse than it probably is. I've been there more times than I would like to admit. And honestly, what stops me from booking an appointment with a doctor isn't wanting care. It's the friction. Calling during office hours, being put on hold, finally getting your appointment, and it's months out. And ZocDoc, today's sponsor, removes all of that. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search for high-quality, in-network doctors, read real patient reviews, and book appointments instantly without talking to anyone on the phone. You can search by specialty or symptom, whether that's primary care, dermatology, dentistry, eye care, over 200 specialties with over 150,000 plus providers across all 50 states. Want to see your doctor in person? Great. Prefer a video visit? That works too. And you can read verified, real patient reviews to see who actually listens, who fits your vibe, and who has real-time availability, including video visits or in-person appointments, often within 24 to 72 hours. Appointments through ZocDoc happen fast, sometimes even the same day. For me, it's been the difference between spiraling out at night or actually waking up knowing I have care lined up. So gang, be kind to yourself this year. Using ZocDoc is free. Click the link in the description below or head to ZocDoc.com/SauceStache to find and book an appointment with top-rated in-network doctors today. ZocDoc, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for creating such an incredible service. I absolutely love it. It has made my life so much easier. Gang, we just passed 700,000 subscribers, which feels like such a huge number. I mean, I know it is, but it's just wild to me. It feels like the next part in this journey. We are so close to 1 million. And this is my 10th year on YouTube. 700,000 subscribers just feels like, I don't know. I don't know why it feels so big to me. It's just the next part of the journey. But only 25% of you watching are currently subscribed. So if any of this content connects with you, please click the subscribe button. I've always had this dream of getting to 1 million subscribers. I think it's just a YouTuber thing. I don't know. But if I've helped any of you, or if you connect to any of this, please join me in on this journey. I just truly want to inspire as many people as I can to find the life that I've been able to find. Okay, so let's actually walk through what this looks like to me on my body, not just on a study. Phase 1 was the first initial diet. I lost 40 pounds. That happened right before Mock and I's wedding. I was 40 pounds down by the time we got married. Then I hit a wall. I stalled and stayed like that for a while. Got a little frustrated, pretty much got off the diet and just kind of maintained. Then I added running, got back into the diet, started losing weight. I hit 165 pounds. I filmed my first weight loss video, but underneath the shirt, I was still a little fluffy. I was soft, had no muscle definition, and I was white knuckling the diet. I was pretty much just kind of forcing my way through it. I started running harder to kind of push the math, if that made sense. Now, this is while I was in the running group. I was inspired by the people around me who were incredibly fit. People who were coming back from running marathons, something I never imagined I would ever do. And I started really working out. I got to the gym. I started lifting weights, learned how to lift free weights properly, and I was running more. I still wasn't marathon training. I was just running a lot more. I quickly realized I wasn't eating enough and started fueling my workouts. Now, at the time, I was working out a lot more, but I was still pretty much flat because I would work out and I would come home and I would be incredibly fatigued. I'd pass out on the couch. I would feel bad throughout the day. It would take me a couple of days to recover from those workouts. I wasn't really losing any weight, which at the time really wasn't the goal, but I also wasn't getting much more into shape. And that's when I started fueling my workouts. I started eating a little bit more before the runs, which meant my runs felt better. I was able to work out a little bit harder and push myself a little bit more. I didn't feel as bad when I came home from the runs. I wasn't nearly as fatigued. That feeling, that neat energy wasn't totally gone. I was able to actually get throughout my day. I didn't feel like an old man, which is what I started feeling like. I started feeling incredibly young again. I would have energy, focus, clarity. Things really started to make sense. I was losing inches around the waist. I wasn't gaining any weight. My resting heart rate lowered. My recoveries got better. My sleep got better because I wasn't just losing weight. The goal wasn't about strictly burning fat. The goal was about health, getting healthier, having a healthier heart, a healthier cardiovascular system, health all around. Now, phase 4, which is today, where I'm currently at, after learning everything that I've currently learned. I'm not living in a permanent deficit anymore. I have phases that I go through. And I'm not saying that this is super complicated. I know talking about phasing and it sounds like a fad diet, but it truly is not. It's just fueling your body for what you need. From Florida, this is an easy perspective, but if a storm is coming, you're probably going to need to grab some extra fuel for the generator, for the propane, for the grill, in case you lose power for an extended period of time. You don't always have to have that fuel just sitting around. So it's good to fuel your body when you know you're going to be working extra hard. So I want to be clear about something. I'm not telling you that deficits don't work. They obviously do. Calories in versus calories out truly is the key to sustained weight loss. I lost a majority of my weight based on that rule. Tracking and estimating your calories, estimating your expenditure. Once you can balance that, it is the easiest way to lose a majority of the weight. I'm not saying a deficit is not where you're supposed to live during weight loss. The mistake wasn't dieting. The mistake was never leaving that diet. And I'm also not stating that you have to eat more to lose weight. That is also not true. I see so many people make that comment in social media. I made an entire video about it. The actual lesson is your body needs to break restriction from time to time, especially when you are trying to work harder to sustain effort. If you are pushing harder, the extra energy will help you gain that muscle to create a bigger engine, so that way you can pull a bigger load and your restriction won't need to be as much. Losing weight, burning fat, and getting fit in the end turned out to be two different things. And I wish I would have chased getting fit from the very beginning. It probably wouldn't have taken me nearly as long to get where I am today if I would have just started this way. But these were all things that I had to learn. I spent years trying to do both, and they're not the same tool. If you want to know if you're actually stuck in this right now, it's not complicated. Are you still in a deficit weeks or months after the scale stopped moving? Are your workouts getting worse and not better? I currently just went through that. I was feeling weaker. I was more tired than I was months ago. That's because my metabolic rate went up, and I was still in a deficit for when my metabolic rate was lower, meaning I had to up my calories to stay in a deficit, but also have enough energy to get through my workouts. Eating more is the thing that people are really afraid to try, but that doesn't mean to go crazy. You don't want fattening foods, you want good quality foods, and you want to slowly increase your food, slowly, a little at a time, so that way you could see if you feel better in your workouts, and then start moving the needle on the scale again. Pay attention to what your training does. Are you feeling better? Are you able to lift more, run a little faster, go a little farther, push a little harder? You're going to end up burning more calories in the end from having the better workout than you will from being completely burnt out from not having enough food. That's it. That's the whole experiment. Gang, I know a lot of you are already commenting. I can already hear it. Let's keep it civil. But leave a comment if you're someone who trains and understands fueling for your training while also trying to maintain a certain level of fitness and fat loss. You understand where this video is coming from. My whole point of these videos is to inspire you and motivate you to find the health and happiness that I have found. If I can help in any other way, please leave a comment down below. If you want to learn how to lose weight without doing any of the crazy fad diets, doing it on your own, learning about nutrition and health, click the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.